Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Money Matters TV. Happy to be here with you again. My name is Steve Rosenberg from the GSD Group, author of the book, Make Bold Things Happen, Inspirational Stories from Sports, Business, and Life. And I'm thrilled to be here again with my co-host, Dan White. Dan and I co-hosted just a few weeks ago. Dan is a certified financial planner in the tri-state area. He's actually incredibly knowledgeable. I learned so much from hosting with him the last time. When Dan's not on Money Matters, he's on smaller programs like CNN and Fox and writing in Forbes. So, Dan, great to see you and welcome back.
Thanks for having me on the show again, Steve.
So, Dan, we sit here on mid-December, year end is coming up. What are some year-end financial planning issues that people should be thinking about if they haven't already been thinking about those?
Yeah, you ought to be thinking about this all year long, but people tend to procrastinate. And I guess there's three things that I think people should focus on in the last 2-3 weeks of the year. Number one, we're in the retirement planning space. And if you have a retirement account and you're 73 years old, you've got to take a required minimum distribution. This has to be taken out by December 31st. And the penalties can be a little bit severe if you don't have that out. And even if you're not 73 years old, if you have inherited an IRA from somebody else, from a brother, a sister, mom, dad, chances are you got to take an RMD from that account as well. So you really want to be looking at any type of retirement account that you have. If you're under 73, you're probably in the clear. But if you're over 73 years old, you have to take a required minimum distribution. The IRS is basically saying to you, you've had enough time hiding your money and we want some of it. So you got to take this distribution out before the end of the year. Another thing that we run into that people tend to hesitate or check up on is beneficiaries. A lot of people are under the conception that if they have a will, they got their will updated, maybe they have a trust, they've got everything locked down. The key here is any type of retirement account, again, does not go per the terms of a will. That goes by the beneficiary you have named on that retirement account. So you want to review them before year end because people get divorced, people die. And I've seen this happen where an ex-spouse might be really happy when somebody dies because they didn't think they had anything coming and you didn't update your beneficiary and they're left with a pot of money. So you want to make sure your beneficiaries are all reviewed. And then the estate planning as well. This is probably the biggest area of procrastination we run into. A lot of people have no documents, or if they have documents, they're 30, 40 years old. They've got guardians for their kids, and their kids are 50. So you run into these types of things, and we tend to just set them and forget them, and they're things that ought to be looked at every now and then. Good time to do it before year end.
I guess the flip side to the over 73 would be at the end of the year would be to make sure that you're maximizing your IRA contributions or have enough money to put into SEPs or whatever, depending on what kind of business you're in, just to make sure there's enough money that's going to go into your retirement account before the end of the year, right? Would that be something?
You actually have a window with IRAs because you can do it. You can fund an IRA even up to the time you file your taxes.
Right.
And same thing with a SEP. You have to have the SEP established, but then you can fund the SEP up until the time you actually file your taxes. But with the RMDs, you don't have that luxury. You got to get it out this year. So,
thank you. So as we approach 2024, 23 was a very interesting year. You see a lot of talk now about people saying it's going to be a soft landing. Have interest rates peaked? Are they going to start to come down now? Where you sit as, in my opinion, a true expert in this, what's your outlook for 2024? Where do you see things happening?
Yeah, I would like to be as rosy as everybody else, but unfortunately, the people that I'm reading and all, it's not a good outlook. I mean, if you came into 2023, I mean, everybody was predicting a recession. 2022 was probably the worst year for the 60-40 stock bond portfolio, and everybody thought the recession was going to hit this year. Well, surprise, surprise, we're up 20%. They've raised rates. I think they're pausing now. They think they've done enough. But it takes time for interest rate hikes to go through the economy. And I think what you're going to see, there's a lot of loans, a lot of leases, a lot of mortgages that are going to come due in the next year or two. And these people were locked in at maybe 2 to 3%. Now they're going to, sticker shock. They're going to come in at 7, 8%. And I think you're going to see some commercial real estate vacancies. You might see some your bankruptcies are on the rise. So I think the recession that everybody was calling for in 2023 just kind of got pushed out a little bit to 2024. The big guys that I'm reading, Warren Buffett, he's in a lot of cash right now, a lot of the hedge funds. Everybody you talk to is kind of predicting it might be a little bumpy in 2024.
So that's what we talked about in the last show, where the real estate space is going to go and that sort of thing. So that's actually very interesting and really different perspective than what I've been reading and hearing. So how do you think, what's your advice when you're talking to your clients? How are you advising people protect themselves from these potential downturns other than traditional diversification and that sort of thing?
Right. Well, diversification is always the key, but I think you do have options at this point, Steve, because, for the better part of 15 or 20 years, we didn't have any options. What could you earn at the bank? Interest rates were zero, for 15 years. So you didn't really have any option. They called it, a TINA. There is no alternative. Why are you in the stock market? Because there's no alternative. And when interest rates are at zero, money's dirt cheap. So the market responded to that. We had a really nice bull run for 10 or 15 years. But now with interest rates 5.5, we're even seeing some fixed rates above 6%. You've got competition for that stock market space. And is it really worth taking risk in the market if you can go get a 5 or 6% guarantee in a fixed account? So I think if people are a little risk averse or conservative and they think that the storm might be coming, it wouldn't be a bad idea. Go get a 6-month, a 1-year CD, get your 5 or 6%, wait for the dust to settle, and then step back in.
Well, thank you, Dan. You ready for a question from one of our listeners? We have a question from Rachel Rockland in Philadelphia. What is the power of compound interest?
Well, that's, I think I forget who coined that phrase. It might have been Benjamin Franklin. He called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. Bottom line is, let's say somebody has $100,000. If they're getting 5%, they're going to earn $5,000. Now, if it's simple interest, if you had a 5-year CD that was simple interest, you would get $5,000 the first year, $5,000 the second year, third, fourth, fifth year. There's no compounding, so to speak. You're only going to get what the interest was on the original principal. But when you have compound interest, you're not only earning interest on your principal, but you're earning interest on your interest. So again, in my previous example, you have $100,000, you make 5%. After a year, you have $105,000. Now you're earning 5% on $105,000 instead of $100,000. So that interest is compounding. And if you do this inside of a tax-deferred account, like a fixed annuity, you actually get triple compounding, because unlike a CD, where that 5% interest would be taxable inside of a tax-deferred vehicle, you're not going to pay the tax on it, so you're going to earn interest on the money that you would have had to pay to the federal government. So compound interest truly is a revelation. You're getting interest on your principal, and you're getting interest on the interest that you're earning.
All right, great. Thank you for that answer. If you have a question for Money Matters TV, here's how you can send your questions in.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says, Send us your questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, MONEY, -matters, MATTERS, TV.com.
So now I'm going to welcome in our guest of the week, Adam Battersby, who has the most perfect last name for what he does. Really unique. He is the president of ProBatter Sports. If you like baseball, if you like tech, if you like sports, this is going to be a phenomenal interview. Adam, welcome to the show, and thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's just get right into it. I know all about ProBatter Sports. I've used the product. I've seen the product, but my guess is that a lot of people don't. Probably have a lot of Phillies fans out there, or heaven forbid, a Mets fan or a Yankees fan. Tell the listeners what ProBatter Sports is, how you manufacture it, and really why you got started in that business.
Yeah, so ProBatter Sports, we make video pitching machines. And what that is we put a video screen in front of a pitching machine that shows a right-hand or left-hand pitcher winding up before the ball comes out of a hole in the video screen. So it's really the closest thing to real-life batting practice that you can have. And some of our machines are controlled by big color touchscreens. So you get 10 different pitches, any speed you want from 40 to 100 miles an hour to any location. So I mean, it's basically like a game like at bats, it's pretty cool. It's also a great training tool as well. And we got into it because growing up, I had a two-wheel pitching machine in my backyard, which was a great machine, but it was hard to time the ball coming out. So basically the coach or my father at the time would hold the ball, put it in the machine, but sometimes it would roll smoothly through, sometimes it would hiccup. So you're not really loading properly to really drive the ball. So we realized there was a need in the market for this as well. And another problem is that if you switch from a fastball to a curveball, you turn the dials, tilt the pitching machine head, so you know what's coming. You don't learn how to hit the curveball. You just learn where to put the baseball bat. And that was my biggest problem, the curveballs and the breaking pitches. So that's why we came up with the product.
Hey, Adam, it's Dan. Thanks for being on the show. If they'd had this kind of stuff when we were growing up, who knows? Maybe I'd be cashing Oshani's $700 million check today, We didn't have this kind of technology. How did your company and your invention, this simulator, how did it come to be?
Yeah, so like I said, it started in our backyard, and my dad was the original driving force for it. So he's a patent attorney by trade. So hired a few engineers, gave them the idea of what we're looking for, the vision, and they got to work. And I think it was about 8 engineers through the process got us to where we want to be. And that was selling it. And the first customer was actually the Chicago White Sox, which was pretty cool and kept us going, and kind of all snowballed from there.
So it's interesting, when you talked about the machine, my right arm I can't count how many tens of thousands of batting practice pitches I've thrown, and I still throw them. There's not a year of my adult life that I haven't thrown, and my wing is not what it used to be. But you're right, when you talk about arm angles, whenever you throw batting practice, this was always what you did: ball up, and then you would throw. And I don't care who you are, nobody can throw. BP is not like live pitching, particularly from the motion, particularly around the curveball. The curveball is what sets apart MLB guys and guys that are stuck in AAA or AA or single A or rookie ball. So correct. This is, at the time when you started in the late 90s, it was very unique. The convergence of sports and technology is every day there are new competitors, new inventions coming out there. Have you seen competitors into your marketplace? And if so, how, you don't have to name them, but how have you adapted to stay ahead of your competitors?
Yeah, so we do have some competition. There's one guy, a smaller guy out of Georgia, that sometimes we compete with, sometimes we don't. And then there's a newer company in Canada that came out, and their machine is so high end. It's like $200,000. So we don't really compete against them, but competition's good. I mean, at first I was complaining, and my dad just said, competition's good. It makes you work harder. It makes you get your product better, to, make your product cheaper, to get everything better, because you have to compete against someone else. So I think it's really helped us. But also there's so much technology, like you mentioned in baseball. There's, ball tracking devices, and there's 5 of those companies. So there's always going to be competition. You just got to work hard and make your system better, make your sales pitch better, and prove to the customer that it's got to help the batter more than the other product will.
So, Adam, I have 2 questions for you. You had mentioned that one of your first clients was the Chicago White Sox, and I think that's amazing that you start at the top. You start at the MLB. But realistically, from a sales standpoint, who is your marketplace? That's question number 1. Is it major league teams, college teams, high school teams, little league teams? I mean, who do you market this to? And then the second thing is about technology being such an evolving field. Like when we were growing up, it was fastball, maybe curveball. Yeah. Now they've got sliders, and they've got I think the thing Aaron Nola was throwing, they called it a slurve, you know?
Yep, we got those.
So not only who do you market to, but how do you stay up with these latest, like how do you program a slurve for crying out loud?
Yeah, so what we did was we sat down with a lot of our customers. So we had like Jason Giambi, Trot Nixon, we had the hitting coach of the Yankees, and different hitting coaches at different levels. So we sat down with those coaches and basically spent a lot of time with them and threw the pitches, and they would critique them, say, listen, you need a little bit more spin here, a little bit more drop here. And that's how we came out with our database. So we got a lot of feedback. I mean, we're all baseball players, but we don't know what these major league pitches break like. So we need that input from the top level guys. But in the market wise, our biggest market is the commercial batting cage market, where someone's going to buy it and rent it out and make money off of it. We do sell to Major League Baseball. We have about 25 machines in professional baseball. It's a great market. You need it for credibility. You need it to tell people that you have those clients. But all in all, it's a small market. You know, you only have 32 teams. Yeah, you sell their minor leagues. You can sell to some of their players, but the commercial batting cage market is huge. We also do a lot of home installs or little private installations for travel teams. And we also do some entertainment machines as well. So you go there on a date night, you know, put a token in, hit 10 balls, and then, you know, call it a day. So we kind of do everything.
So what is, this is a follow-up question to what you just said. What is, and I have a really two-part question. So what is, have you defined the total addressable market? So, you know, I guess if you start to factor in, and this is not an inexpensive machine. It's not the $200,000 machine, but little leagues, my guess would be, and pony leagues and Cal Ripken leagues would have a hard time buying some of this equipment. So, you know, what's the total addressable market for you? And then a completely different part of the question is, how do analytics play into these machines? Because if any sport has been disrupted by analytics, I would say baseball might be the lead dog in the sled on analytics. So the total addressable market, and how have you incorporated analytics to help overcome some challenges that people might have with this?
Yeah, so our biggest market was a commercial batting cage market. We hit that real hard. And then this current machine is a PX3, it's called, and it sells for $27,500. The machine prior was $45,000. So that kind of limited us with who we could sell to. Now with the new PX3, we sold, I think, to a dozen high schools, and a lot more high schools are looking for it. I think our past 3 sales have been to high school. So we're really hitting that market hard because there's high schools everywhere. But our market's kind of limited to an indoor facility. They have to have an indoor space. But so you have a lot of colleges, you have a lot of high schools, you know, commercial batting cages. We're now selling overseas. We have been selling overseas for a while, and cricket as well. Cricket's the number 2 biggest sport in the world behind soccer, so it's huge overseas. You don't really see too much in the U.S., but overseas it's enormous. And then the analytics, there's a lot of companies out there that have the ball tracking devices. So once you hit the ball, it shows exit velocity, the trajectory, you know, how far it goes, all that stuff. So a lot of our customers use our system and their system combined. And when it's combined, it's really the coolest thing around. I mean, it's like a huge golf simulator for baseball. You know, you see our pitcher winding up, and then you look over and you see the ball flight in, you know, Fenway, Yankee Stadium, or generic stadiums, and you get all the data, so you can kind of see how your swing was compared to other people around the nation and how you had done in the past. So it's really a cool setup when combined.
You know, it's funny you brought that up, Adam, because as you were talking, I was thinking about this. I had a friend the other day, and he's just starting to learn how to play golf, and he says, "Oh yeah, I played Pebble Beach the other day." And I said, "You did what?" Well, he did it in his garage.
Yeah.
Because he had one of them golf simulators.
Yep.
So this is very similar to that. You could say, "Oh, I hit one out at the Green Monster in Fenway," right?
Yeah. And it's a cool experience, and people pay for that.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is when you have a system like that, you try to swing as hard as you can, to hit the ball as hard as you can. I've done that quite a bit in the golf range, but it's fun. You know, it puts a fun back into training for the sport, which you kind of need sometimes.
So any notable like success stories, or any big league players that have endorsed you or partnered with you, anything like that?
Yeah. So we had 25 machines in professional baseball. Yankees bought 5. That was one of the cooler customers we've had. Met with Brian Cashman years back, sat down with them, sold them 1 machine for Yankee Stadium. that was definitely a pretty cool deal. When we first got into cricket, that was really cool too. Excuse me. We had the ECB, which is the UK national team, come visit us, and then they bought a machine. Then one of their coaches went to Cricket Australia. So then, he told them about the ProBatter. So then they bought a few, and then we sold it in Dubai, the ICC, which is the International Cricket Council. So that was really cool. I think University of Florida, that was another big one. It was a cold call. A guy picked the call out of the blue. I was kind of a little surprised. He goes, wow, this thing is cool. So gave him a little bit of a discount. Back-to-back national championships. So that was really cool. They then, their stadium, so we bought that machine back. We upgraded them to a new one. And then Mr. Movan bought one, and then we sent it down to Boca Raton for his son. So that was another cool deal as well. And Movan's.
Yeah, that's pretty good. If you can penetrate, people don't really understand it. They don't understand that it's the number 2 sport in the world. And if you think back to the movie $1 Million Arm, which was produced by a guy I used to work with, and I've had a lot of conversations around cricket, and I thought what the Pirates did back a number of years ago by going to India to try to find, does the game relate? If you could address that market, I think that I couldn't even imagine how big it could get, because there's so many people playing, not just in India, but across the world. But my question is specifically to technology. The tech space changes every morning I wake up. There's something new, and you're really all about tech, and not just the tech itself, but the coolness, if you will, of the tech. You think about the video games that we used to play and what the graphics look like compared to today's graphics. So how much time do you spend not just worrying about the total addressable market and how you're going to penetrate India, but how do you work on the technology and keeping yourselves up to date?
Yeah, so we're currently on our 3rd generation machine that we built here. And as technology changes, we try to incorporate that with our machine, which is, it keeps it current and also helps with costs and all that stuff. Came out the PX3 a couple of years ago. It was a cool machine. We took a lot of cost out, put a lot of new technology in it. And then actually this past weekend, we did a new video shoot with all new pitchers. So the guy filmed 9 softball pitchers, all stud girls, great windups, great mechanics, do really hard. So we're going to put that on our video screen just so a customer can have different looks. They can hit against college pitchers, high school pitchers, and multiple pitchers. So, every day they're not training at the same pitcher. They're training about different pitchers, different stadiums. So we try to keep current with that. Software, stuff like that. Any big company out there that we can tie in with, like we're doing an integration with one of the tracking companies right now, that we're going to put all their software on our video screen. So we try to keep current with that, because you have to, or someone else will, and get the sale. So you got to do what you got to do.
So not only do you guys develop the technology and the machinery, it's got to. I don't know how big is the company? How many employees? Do you farm any of this out? And I guess, what are the biggest challenges, Adam, that you face as a small business owner in this industry, and how do you overcome them?
Yeah, so when we started, we did everything in-house. With the control cabinets, we outsourced to a local company. Came in, we had a bunch of guys in the back, assembly guys. We shipped the machines out from here. Now we outsource most of our stuff. We have Foxconn down in Virginia. They manufacture for us. They're the largest contract manufacturer in the world, it's great. So all we have to do here is take an order, send them the PO. They'll take care of everything else, which it really frees up a lot of my time. Before we had them, I'd be here at the office till late, helping packing out machines, shipping them out, testing them, and it was a grind. I think 2 years ago we shipped 16 machines in the month of December. So with the holidays, with everything, I was spent. So they are definitely good. But we are a small company. We outsource PR, we outsource marketing, we outsource a lot of the sales rep networking, outsource manufacturing. They do the ordering. So, and then we also outsource a lot of our engineering, software, and design work as well. So it's definitely helped us out a lot, and also cut their costs down a lot too.
Have you been approached, and you can say you can't answer this, but I'm curious. I would think there's some real licensing opportunities, some additional revenue generating opportunities for you. Maybe not. I mean, obviously you're not an MLB licensee. So I think you probably have to white out the names on the uniforms, and there can't be any specific players unless you do deals directly. But have you tried to explore if there's, background signage, that sort of thing in the virtual world to help expand your revenue model and to try to bring in some other advertisers into your space, or is that not part of your business plan?
No, we have actually, because our video screen is essentially a large TV screen. So in between rounds, you can put logos up there, commercials, you could do, advertisements. So we've definitely looked into that. We had a big name company that came to us and said, well, this is years ago, how many machines do you have out there? And at the time we had, I think 100 or something like that. They said, all right, well, when you get 1,000, give us a call and, we'll work with you and put our logo on and pay you X amount of dollars per month. So we're trying to revisit that. We're kind of chasing our tails a little bit. But that's something that's been on our minds for a long time. And I think we definitely should look into that because that's huge,
Yeah, so you guys have been doing this for a while. I kind of get the opinion that you're kind of the front runners in this technology. So if somebody was trying to break into this field, what advice would you offer to an aspiring entrepreneur that was trying to get into the technology-based sports marketing industry?
Do your research, explore the market, make sure there's a need for it, talk to a lot of coaches, do a patent search to see what else is out there, make sure your product is different than others and is appealing to coaches, players, and make sure you have enough capital because it costs us a lot of money to get to where we are right now between the engineers and everything else. So just do your homework and work. It's a lot of work, but it all pays off. And if you're doing what you love in the industry that you love, it's a fun job. I mean, we've definitely had a lot of great moments here. And I could honestly say I've had a lot of fun during the journey at ProBatter Sports.
Well, Adam, first of all, someday we'll find out what your real last name is because it can't be possible that your real last name is Battersby and you work in a batter technology, baseball oriented. But if that is your real name, God bless you. You're living my dream, working in baseball with technology. You figured it out a long time ago. And I used to work at the Spectrum when there was a Spectrum, and I remember Richie Ashburn came in. I'm sorry, Harry Callis. Sorry, Harry Callis walks up to me one day. I must have had a bad look on my face. He said, "Steve, any day you start your day at the ballpark isn't a bad day, right?
Exactly.
And you're literally starting your day at the ballpark every day." So, Adam Battersby, ProBatter Sports, thank you for joining us. Dan White, Dan White and Associates. If you need financial advice, run, don't walk to call Dan and find him. He's going to help you save money, make money, and probably both. Our next guest is Mumbi Dunjawa. Mumbi, if I pronounce your name wrong, I apologize, from Naturaz. And thank you all for tuning in. This was a great show, and we'll see you again next time.